Okay, so good morning, everyone. I hope you're hearing me well. We are currently admitting all participants to the call. Thank you all for being here with us today for this 1-hour webinar on data governance and value creation. So this seminar aims to provide a better understanding of one of the key prerequisites for a successful digital data transformation, which is building the foundation for an effective data governance. So without further ado, I will now let our dear speakers present themselves. Elmo, if you mind, you just need to activate your microphone. Perfect.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Elmo-Ninier. I'm the group CTO for Acial QCENTRIS. So we deliver kind of software development and digital services across all Europe. And the major of the clients that we are targeting, they are here in Switzerland, so financial services, insurance services, and fintech, and we do any kind of integration going forward.
Thank you, Elmo. So should we now start with Benoît, please?
Yes, hello everyone, good morning. So my name is Benoît Grange, I'm Deputy CIO at Heuer. So for the one who don't know the brand, Heuer is a Swiss luxury watch brand. It was founded in 1860 by Edward Heuer. We have 4 production sites in Switzerland that mastering the whole, let's say, watchmaking process. We have more than 130 boutiques worldwide. It's an international company with 1,600 employees, and we have subsidiaries in 15 countries. And we are part of the LVMH group, which is the world leader of luxury. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Benoît. Amine, please.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Amine. I'm the enterprise data leader for Vaudoise Insurance. So I'm responsible for the data governance, data management in Vaudoise. So I'm happy to share some experience with you all today. And I want to thank also Colombus and Acial QCENTRIS for the invitation. Thanks.
Sure. Should we now give the mic to Martin?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Martin Fischer. I'm the CIO of Bob Finance. For the ones who don't know Bob Finance yet, we are a Swiss company, part of the Valora Group in Switzerland, and we're a consumer finance specialist in the Swiss market. We're offering installment loans to customers and buy now, pay later propositions to business partners who could then finance their sales with our products to end customers. We're a 6 years old company, so we just left the startup phase, I guess, and yeah, happy to join the discussion today as a panelist.
Thank you, Martin. Andrea, can you hear us?
Yes, now I can. Apologies for the inconvenience. I was struggling a little bit to get the audio and video connected.
Okay, perfect. Could you please introduce yourself and the company Credit Exchange?
Yes, I'm Andrea Canonica, CEO of Credit Exchange. Credit Exchange is a marketplace to trade and transfer mortgage investments between financial institutions like banks, insurances, and pension funds. We are 3 years old, so we are also a kind of very young startup.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Andrea. So my name is Giancarlo. I am a manager at Colombus Consulting, and I'll be your moderator for today. So Colombus assists companies and organizations from the launch to the delivery of their data initiatives. And we have a broad expertise on this matter, ranging from data governance and privacy to management, analytics, and much more. So thank you all again for being here with us today. So this webinar will consist of 2 parts. So the first one will be a 15-minute presentation, and the second one will last around 40 minutes. The remaining time we'll have a Q&A. So during our roundtable, we can please bear in mind that we have a chat available here. So if you have any questions for our speakers, please feel free to write them, and we'll try to address some of these. So to start, we'll have a brief overview of how data governance can create value. So in this part, we'll go through use cases and major trends, and also have a look at some of the key components of data governance. So later on, we will discuss with our panelists how priorities can also change between the different organizations. So without further ado, let's begin. So recently, we have seen that many factors are changing the rules of the game, and these have created a sense of urgency to govern data assets that certainly reach already top management's agenda. So if we have a look, for instance, at the external factors, we can mention the increase for accountability. The need for accountability now is key, which is a direct consequence of the change in regulatory environment, which is also at a global scale. We can mention, for instance, the European GDPR or the Federal Act on Data Protection, which will be soon entering into force in Switzerland. So another important factor is the current technological evolution with 5G networks and IoT, which is also enabling very data-intensive environments, and those external factors have impacted companies internally. For instance, with the ongoing explosion of the volume of data and the increasing capability to develop data-driven use cases. And overall, there is an increase in awareness from customers, whether it's in B2C, and knowing how a company collects and uses their personal data, but also this phenomenon can be seen in B2B with the evolution in the needs of terms of contractual obligations related to data, but also even from the employees with new CSR initiatives. So all these factors have really highlighted the need for organizations to define the proper rights and accountability framework to ensure the best approach in manage data and analytics. But independently of these factors, we can ask ourselves, why is data governance important, and how its state-of-the-art can create value for an organization and improve operations. So to illustrate that, we have selected 4 examples of data-driven use cases that are reshaping business practices across different industries now. So the first one is the omni-channel customer experience. So in this case, I need to identify and understand my customer's behavior across different channels. And to do so, I need to break silos and have a good customer data quality, right? To be able to predict behavioral patterns. So data governance in this case is a very effective way of consolidating and harmonizing data for that. The second use case can be predictive analytics, and more precisely for product and customer analytics. So we know that a team of data scientists can have the capability to analyze and correlate different data sets from multiple sources to identify and predict certain outcomes, but with data governance, we can add a real depth of analysis. So linking the customer and the product by pushing the boundaries of data granularity and the performance of algorithms to a much larger scale. So ultimately, you can reach the capability to process even complex events. So regarding our third use case, which is regarding supply chain management. So we all have seen with the current COVID-19 pandemic, many industries have a need now to be able to respond to a rapid volatility in demand, and data governance can help them to set the proper environment to increase the sharing of information between, let's say, e-commerce and retail, and so to enable them to have adaptive logistics capabilities. And even in the case of HR, we have seen some use cases around augmented talent and employee management. So of course, data can enable now to understand how employees react to certain decisions, also see what motivates and drives them. But most importantly, it helps to identify trends and alerts that you not really see in isolation or during the recruitment phase. So To be able to do so, it is important to set a proper framework to leverage information across the entire employee's life cycle, right? So I'd like now to briefly share with you some of the major data and analytics trends that are emerging today, and why we think that these might be game changers in the next few years. So the first one is the data-driven business. So this means leveraging data and analytics to switch from a, let's say, a gut feeling approach to a more evidence-based decision process. The second one is data and analytics as a service. So what we have seen is that instead of being a secondary focus, data analytics is now shifting to a core function. And leading players are certainly building skill centers around that to leverage analytics as an enabler for business, and by delivering the new use cases that will, for instance, accelerate their go-to-market capabilities. The third one is distributed intelligence, and in this case, we mean having the automation and analytic capabilities to progressively decentralize and provide autonomy at business unit level. Regarding the smarter and agile AI, this is more about adopting an iteration approach, which is driven by the use cases with the fast prototyping rather than an exploratory approach with a big data platform. Well, for the data hub, it means the capability to orchestrate governance in general, so better manage data from end-to-end and across platforms, and of course, privacy, which is a very hot topic today. We see a rising concern, right, as I mentioned. And so we have to make sure that they have the right privacy capabilities required today and integrated data processes within our ecosystem. And then the last, cybersecurity, mainly focusing on vulnerability to be able to anticipate, let's say, and foresee the risks to better manage them. So with all that being said, we all know that, of course, there are different data maturity levels, and this model can help to understand where we are today as an enterprise based on benchmarks and also best practices, but also within the enterprise, right, between the different departments and business areas. So, for instance, you can excel in the product area, but like lag behind on the customer area, which evolves, of course, more rapidly with the Omni-Channel and is often also less mature in a data perspective. So I will not go through all the details here, but it is important to have an overview of where we are today to be able to set the proper objectives, right? And so to be able to audit the data maturity level and also to execute this user-centric data governance, you need a proven framework. So we have developed one based on key 8 components, which of course I will not go through here because of the time that we have left, but some to not underestimate our business capabilities, which, as mentioned, is having the right capabilities to provide an evidence-based decision-making capability for business. Also the business life cycle, the data life cycle, so to properly manage data from end to end, define the right set of controls on each step, which will, of course, enable a higher data quality. So by implementing also continuous improvement processes. So I would like now, without further ado, to hand it off to Elmo, who will share QCENTRIS' expertise about this major key component, which is data quality. Please, Elmo.
Okay, thanks, Giancarlo. I think I saw some message that some of our colleagues, they are struggling with the song.
With the sound.
Yes.
I'm trying to do my best here, but okay, I can hear you well, by the way.
Yeah, me too. I can hear you well, but just like some of our colleagues, they said, okay, sounds perfect. Okay, I will proceed. Okay, thank you very much, Giancarlo, for the the introduction to the data governance. It's very, very important, as you mentioned here. Our experience from the whole to achieve the data quality, and we are now talking from one perspective of the software development, of the digital transformation project that we were involved last 3 to 5 years, and also some of the clients that they are here today. We worked together, and just like we walked the path, and then we really struggled from the beginning, but we are in good place when it comes to the data governance and build a data quality model within their organization. So within our services that we provide, it is very important to all the time target and stay focused on the 3 criteria that also mentioned with Giancarlo within the data governance. The first one is the data-driven business. So all of the clients right now, when it comes to the digital space, this is a very important factor when it comes to the data-driven business. So it means that we want to achieve a certain level of the quality for the data that will be driven to drive the business going forward. The second factor, or the second space, it's the data or the cyber security. So whatever we achieve together with our clients, where we develop their digital platform, this is a very major topic that we do in our development for their platforms. It's the cybersecurity. So we do the penetration testing, we do all the level of authentication. So we want to make sure that the data is very safe, and nevertheless we are in Switzerland, so we need to meet the data protection regulations. The third one is the privacy. Privacy is very important, and I don't need to deep dive there. And the fourth one is the data analytics. We are not providing as a service for the time being, but of course we want to achieve that going forward. So now let me just go into this slide more deeply. So the data quality management is more kind of the the capturing the information, the storing the information, the management of the information, the share of the information. So the whole, as you see to your left, this is a model, could be customized from one client to another, how to manage a data, and not to mention how to achieve a certain level of the data quality model that fits per purpose, not just like that we are storing the data, we are deleting the data whenever we want. We want just like to manage the data and then grab the data, but what we are going to do with these data. And to your right-hand side is the dimensions. So of course, it is all these dimensions, as I mentioned earlier, it fits for purpose for those 4 spaces that or the 4 factors that I mentioned, again, that we stay whatever we do. And I see for the next 5 to 10 years, each company or each client or each organization now, this is the major topics when it comes to data governance. So I will not just repeat it from, read it from the top to the end, but it's data should be complete, should be consistent, the uniqueness of the data, the validation, the accuracy, and the timeline, the timeliness, and also the security. These are the dimensions that's very, very important really to achieve one, if we want to achieve a certain data quality model within the organization. Next slide, Giancarlo. So I want, for the next slide, I want to deep now about one case when it comes to the data migration. Data migration is very important because this is only one topic of many topics within the data governance. So the data migration now is one case that we want to list here. Within the digital transformation, there are 2 aspects of the business what we are facing. The first one is all the companies now to move to the data, or they are actually moving to the digital transformation. Either they will face a legacy of the data, or they will still have some data already within within their organization that they will face, and then they will improve. So first is any legacy or any storage of the system. Then we want to achieve a target to your right-hand side, as you see, that we want to achieve a certain data quality model that fits for purpose. So again, from the data processing to the data cleaning, to the test and extract and load, to the final extract and load and migration validation, and as well the post-migration activities. The most very important factor here is we want to avoid garbage in and garbage out when it comes to a data transformation or a data migration. So we want really to take the data, which is whatever system is, if it is a legacy or a storage, and then we want really to move it to the target model that fit for purpose. And the major challenges is with data cleaning. The data cleaning and the data validation, they are very important to achieve one level of the data quality going forward. So I will go into more deep dive to the next slide there. So the next slide, it shows the flow or the processes that we are targeting when it comes to the data cleansing. So first, very important, the first one is we do the analysis and discovery. And this is, we have kind of do it together with business when it comes to the data structure. So we will look at the data structure or the data sets within the current state, and then we analyze it, and then we gather the relevant metadata. We review all the existing documents before we move to the extract and profiling. Extract and profiling with number 2, it is also very important because we want to see the transactions data and the master data. We need how to extract it. So we have, of course, different tools there. Different script has been developed for different purposes. And we want to achieve certain data quality assessment going forward. And most important is the dependencies, the mapping, the redundancy, the frequency distribution, and so on and so on. So when we will have an overview of all the extracting and the mapping and the profiling, so now we are ready, and then we are armed for processing the cleansing approach. The cleansing is exactly then we clean all the data, and then we implement the business rules that it is customized for the organization or customized for the strategy, the business strategy for the organization. And then we do all the matching, the merging, duplication, and also not to mention the manual cleansing. So we achieve certain automation of the cleansing with the scripting and so on, but still we need to involve manually with the business, with the data analyst within the organization, and then we'll see exactly how to achieve this kind of the cleansing. From 4 to 6, I think this is very straightforward. The number 4 is the validation. We sit down with the organization, and then we do kind of validation going forward. Again, the loading is just like kind of a scripting, and then at number 6 we do a reconciliation. And after reconciliation is very important. It's not just like a migrate and leave, but of course we need all the time to do kind of the management going forward to achieve the level of the maturity expertise, as Giancarlo stated in one of his slides going forward. Next one.
Well, just a quick question. So we have received here on the chat. So what do you call data patterns in step 2? And then we'll move forward to the roundtable.
The patterns is the data sets and the data patterns from because there are many patterns that they are stored but we don't know what does it mean actually. So that's why we want really to avoid more kind of just like migrating whatever we have, just like I mentioned, garbage in, garbage out, but the pattern and the data set, we need to see how they are structured in any legacy or any storage before we move forward, going to the next step, which is the cleansing.
Okay, perfect, very clear. So I suggest we now start our next section because we're running out of time. So I'd like to thank you again, our panelists, for being here with us today and for sharing their knowledge and experiences on data governance. So we have prepared a set of questions that we'll go through with each one of you. So I suggest we start the first one with you, Benoît. So why is data governance important for your business?
Thank you, Giancarlo. I would say data governance is important because data is key. It's sort of an obvious sentence now, but at Tag Heuer, it took us sometimes to discover it. If I step back a few years ago, we started with 20 years ago implementation of ERPs. Then on top of that, progressively deploying business intelligence tools. And at this time, these kind of tools were seen as nice to have complementary information that we bring to the business. And progressively, and it was the case at Tag Heuer, these tools take more and more importance. And we face it as we starting to consider them as nice to have tools. And progressively, we were blocked when these tools were not available or when the data was not available to the business. And that is why at Tag Heuer, we consider data governance is key, because progressively we are becoming a data-driven company. And in some cases, we have KPIs. If they are not precisely and daily, I would say, delivered to the business is stopped, and we can't run the company. So that's the first explanation. And then, as you mentioned in your presentation, we have additional expectations that brings the data governance absolutely key for us. For example, the legal constraint as GDPR, as you mentioned, means for us to be very cautious and very precise on the data management. The explosion of our data volume is also key for us. So all these things make together. It brings us to the importance of data governance.
Okay, very clear. Thank you, Benoît, for that. And should we now move on with you, Amine? What about Vaudoise?
Yeah, sure. So as I said before, Vaudoise is an insurance company. So today, all my examples will be related to this domain: clients, contracts, policies, claims, premiums. And for us as an insurer, we know that all the data is very important for this industry as we are managing risks. We are calculating premiums, we're taking decisions based on reports and dashboards. So we need to have the right data there. And we want also to know our clients better in order to serve them better. So there is something super important for us in Vaudoise, is to know the different moments of life of our clients. And by that, I mean, for example, marriage, the purchase of a new car, a new house, a newborn or something. And we have to be there for the clients. We have to stay close to them. And that can be only done with the right data and the good data quality. And there is something I try to explain every time to the business is we should have the right data at the right moment to the right person that leads to the right decision. So that summarizes a little bit our need here for the good data quality and the data governance.
Very well, thank you, Amine, for that. And Andrea, is also the case at Credit Exchange. So why is data governance important for you?
Andrea?
Andrea, I cannot hear you.
Yes, exactly. Insurances, pension funds, and other investments. So we manage. Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Right. Okay, very good. So I was saying we have a platform to trade and transfer mortgage risks among banks, insurances, and pension funds. And so we manage a lot of data, which at the end does not belong to us. We don't have any contact with the end client, but we process a lot of sensitive information, like tax declaration, salary statement, and that's why we need state-of-the-art data governance on our platform.
Very clear. Martin, can you please share your experiences about finance around what is important for your business?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, a bit like I can, what Amine said, what Andrea said, like I can copy these experiences in the background because we as Bob Finance deal a lot with customer data. In fact, we couldn't even offer a product without a customer offering their data to us. So be it a credit decision or be it the whole loan application that we then consider and create a payout in the end for a customer. All that is only possible if we have the data of the customer. And that creates 2 points. One is the customer trusts us with the data, with their very personal data. So we need to pay that trust back. Therefore, we need to have a governance framework in place that's essential for our business. And the second point is the data is an ingredient to our production process, if you like. So we are producing our goods with the help of the data. So these 2 factors call for a framework, a definition of processes of ownership, of security for data, so that we can establish the right framework inside our company and can actually ensure that the data is always at the right place where it needs to be. And it goes without saying the points you brought up earlier on, Elmo, on data quality, on cybersecurity attacks, on data privacy. These topics are all around in every business, and we'll come to that probably later on also on the challenges, but there's a couple of points that we always need to consider on a daily basis. And the data governance helps us to create that framework in the process.
Marty, you just went to mute.
Can you hear me?
Now we can. Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry, I just finished on the point that the governance framework, I'm not sure what they could hear, that is helping us to create basically that process framework and our ownership inside the company to be able to keep the business flowing and keep the trust and obviously the regulatory requirements.
That's a great transition actually for the next question. Thank you, Martin, for that. So perhaps we should start with you, Amine. So what are your priorities in terms of data governance today at Vaudoise?
So that's honestly a question we tried to answer in 2019. So at that time, we start from zero. So there was nothing related to data governance in Vaudoise. And we start by building up a strategy and data management policy for the company. So we went to the board of directors, present all this, and we had the approval. So we start to work with all the company in that. And as there was too many open points, we first focused on what was bringing value to the business. So it was the client domain, so all the data related to the clients, the personal data, and all the common data in the company. And by that, I mean, for example, all the data that was going to be used by different people in the company, different services and teams, and we had to focus on that. So we also worked as a priority with the business. So we had to work closely with the different teams in the business and in order to define the requirements and define the data quality for them, because the business has to say what is the data quality for its needs. It's not good. It's not the IT who has to say that, but it's the business. And we had to also to let them take the responsibility of their data. So that's why we set up a new organization with the data owners. It's the business data owners and data stewards that are in my team to support the business data owners. And so also for the priorities, we start to show some KPIs in order to raise awareness on the bad quality we had on some objects. And we used it to work on the data cleansing. That was the first priorities. So if I want to summarize a little bit all the different priorities that we had at the start 2 years ago, it was first to know from where you're starting, because you need to have the analysis of the as-is situation, and you should be helped if you don't have all the resources internally by someone external. You have to involve the business also, because that's a crucial point. The data belongs to the business first. They know what they need to work with, and they know which is the level of quality they need to work. And the third point I would say is the vision. You need to have a very clear vision of where you want to be in the 3 to 5 next years, and this is related to the strategy of your company, the operational strategy also, and the business needs. And then you need to build up a strategy, as I said before, that will allow you to achieve different steps of your vision. And so you have to work on the processes, you have to work on the different roles and organization, you have to work on the KPI measurements, to say that you're succeeding, and you have also to work on the different tools that you have. And also another advice is also start with a small perimeter. It's something that seems to be very clear and simple, but if you start with a small perimeter, you're not hungry and you can show that you're succeeding. And also maybe the last priority for us was the change management and the trainings. So you have to invest a lot of time on change management and the trainings of the people. It's super important to raise awareness, to change the culture, and also to explain the why we're doing all that. It's not just to annoy people or to apply some rules, but you need to show that you're going to succeed in the company. You're going to have also bad quality, and you have to show the cost of bad quality data. And you also have to take the feedbacks from people in the business in order to improve.
Okay, very clear. Thank you, Amine, for that. So,
Giancarlo, I have one question to Amine. Just like thanks, Amine, for summarizing this. One of your priorities was data owners. Do you define data owners? Do you have external data owners, which is outside of Vaudoise group?
Nope.
And if yes, okay, no, good.
Not today.
Very important,
Perfect. Thank you for the question, Elmo. So, do you think, Benoît, that you have some sort of the same priorities also at Heuer? Do you share Amine's point of view?
Yeah, exactly. We are pretty much aligned with what Amine said. In fact, at Heuer, the process started a bit later, because it was supposed to start in 2020, but because of the COVID, everything had been shifted, and we started beginning of this year only. We did a lot of things this year in terms of basics, and as Amine said, we worked a lot on the organization and the fact to build a community of data owner inside the business department, which is absolutely key. We also worked on the organization inside the IT teams, and in fact, we built a dedicated team around data, which was not existing before we start this journey. I would also speak very briefly on data architecture, because in our case it was really important to define our architecture, and in fact, what are the key systems that we consider as the reference for the data management. And so we defined that, and now it's defined and it's clear, and it's very important, because when business came, and it's more and more often the case, they come up with not only a need, but very often a need and the solution that comes with it. We can redirect them, and we can discuss that based on the architecture we have defined. As Amine said, we also worked on a roadmap, because it's very important to have a clear vision, and we have, let's say, at least a 4 years roadmap with a list of use cases that have been identified and prioritized with the business, and that's also key. We need now to work also on the way we are organized inside this data team. We are trying to move, let's say, on something more structured in terms of agile processes. we are a very small team and we are agile. We can deliver very quickly value-added solution for the business, but we are not enough visible today. So we are working on that. And as it was said also, it's very important to bring this kind of subject visible and to explain what are the costs of bad data quality, what is the cost of not answering on a need, a particular need in this subject. And I would conclude also on the work we are doing, which is just starting now around the big data subject, because we are introducing progressively this kind of use cases. We are working at LVMH group level with the Google platform, and progressively in Heuer, we are trying to build some solution on this platform. We starting just now on a traceability subject, which is a very important case in our industry, and where we are bringing back all the traceability and all the let's say the manufacturing and the distribution life cycle of the watch inside one unique tool. And as you can imagine, there is a lot of data for that use case. And we are also working on other one with especially our connected watch. So that's an important also modification for us. That's where we are now at Heuer around this subject.
Very well, thank you, Benoît, for that. So should we move on to you, Martin? What are your priorities in terms of data governance?
Pretty much like the words from Benoît and from Amine. So the groundwork is the essential stuff, obviously. So we started earlier this year on collecting the processes and the framework to put the information together. Did, let's say, an inventory of our data, and including the ownership assignment and the important data. What is the data that actually is then the essence that we need, and what is the buy data that we also create, but actually is maybe the question mark around it? Do we need it in the future or not? So that piece of work that needs to be in place, and then exactly a similar challenge from Benoît. The data architecture is something we're currently focusing on as a priority. Many of us in the call maybe know that the topic is sometimes driven by the systems you employ that drive your data model effectively. So by doing so, and obviously for us, we started as a business and employed certain systems as software as a service models, or even as a licensed software, in order to start the business and start the growth model. And then we're now moving on to get to a new maturity level on our system development. So to create more direct value through customer experiences, through web applications, for example. So we're in-housing more of the data models into our strategic core portfolio. And by doing so, we now need to go through every entity and want to go through every data entity and define exactly how we would structure the data, which gives us then A, better control, and B, sets the groundwork for further growth for us. As we at the moment have a product for our customer, we have a good working product proposition, but we have more ambitions. We want to grow our product suite, and therefore want to have the data level set. Because by doing so, then we can assign it easily to data owners, and we can set the groundwork for, let's call it the data infrastructure and data analytics, where we want to make the data available to our business units. And that's the second point we're currently working on, provide data in a structured form. So the risk department, the sales department, the product development department, they can self-service themselves with the data. And by knowing what data to look for, how it's structured, obviously then it helps tremendously for the analytics over there. And also on our consistency side. So we're avoiding data silos as I said, 6 years old. We have maybe the advantage that we're not having so much legacy from a systems point of view and a data point of view, but it's important for us now to create the right groundwork, because then I think we can have a real advantage towards the customer and give the right propositions to customers, the right, like the next step you mentioned earlier on the slides. What is the next step of action that we recommend for a customer to do? And therefore we want to excel at that point and keeping the data then available where it counts for the customer.
Very well, thank you, Martin. What I hear from all of you so far is that data owner, it's a key role for an effective data governance, and is really also a way to embark business really deeply into the initiatives that we are launching. And so, Andrea, do you share the same point of view? What are your priorities in terms of data governance at Credit Exchange?
Yeah, thank you. So in terms of priorities, we have mainly three major priorities. There is also one question in the chat related to maturity, and this allows me to make a very good link, because in certain area we are quite good advanced. We try, especially for all those data usage that we try to do for our client. So in terms of analytics and predictive analytics, we are doing quite a lot to tell our partners essentially how to improve their positioning on our marketplace, how to gain more mortgages, how to better steer risk return ratios. And in terms of distribution, also we are able to capture a lot of behavioral data to, and we try to condensate this information in very valuable insights for our partner. But in other area, and here I relate to the question, our maturity is very low, technically at the bottom of your scale, or even below. And so one priority is definitely to catch up in those areas. They were never a priority so far, focus on business, focus on volume. That's why we always left it on the side. But with the business growing now we are getting close to the moment where we really need to invest also in the area where we are lacking behind. Priority number one was this. The second one, be prepared for the new data protection law coming in Switzerland. And because the laws in Switzerland tend to be very conceptual and not really practical, we need to be very efficient in managing the different interpretation of this law from our partner. So being able to apply deletion policies based on our partner and not just once for all our business. Third element is related to documents and data extraction out of document. For a mortgage application, there are really a lot of documents to be provided. And we are trying to make use of available technologies to try to extract as much data as possible out of those documents to make the processes more efficient in terms of credit application, but also in terms of data control after.
Very well. Thank you, Andrea, for that. We'll try to address the maturity question that we have in the chat later on, but we have to keep moving on because we're running out of time. We still have two more questions, and this one will go to you first, Benoît. So what are the major challenges that you are facing today at Heuer?
I would come back to the importance of the data owner, which is absolutely key for that. And one of the major challenges we are facing is the fact that we need to put them more at the center of the process. We have defined them. We are working with them, but they should be absolutely in the center of everything around data. And I would say they should feel responsible of the data. And we are still in a phase where when a data problem comes, it goes directly to the IT department as an IT issue, and it should be managed directly by the data owner. So we are trying to work on that, and to work on that, we need to bring to the business tools to manage the quality of their data. That's the first point. The second one is we need to better manage what I could call organizational changes. We have two types of changes of people. And when people are new in the company, or when someone is left the company, we need to be really smooth on this kind of transition, because in our case, some processes or some data knowledge are not enough documented so that it's not smooth enough. And there is another organizational change that we have a lot at TAG Heuer, because we are an international company, is the reorganization of the markets, of the businesses, of the subsidiaries organization for legal or for opportunities reason. And for us, it brings a lot of modification in our data model, and we need to be also more smooth on that. And the last point I would say, where we are trying to work, is for the big data subject, because at the IT we are absolutely convinced that there is a lot of things to do on this kind of subjects. We are trying to bring ideas to illustrate what is possible with this new type of technology, and we are working with a steering committee, with the board of TAG Heuer, in order to drive some initiatives around big data. So that are the three main challenges we are facing today.
Thank you, Benoît. Very, very clear. Amine, do you share the same view? What are some of the challenges that you're facing today at Vaudoise?
Yeah, I think we have also the same challenges, and to be more precise, we in Vaudoise are in a digital transformation context right now with a 40 years IT legacy. I think Martin has only 6 years, so it's a good thing. And so everything is moving. There's a lot of projects, and so you have different domains of data that you should get involved in. And we also need to stick to our plan, to our strategy, to continue working on the communication, trainings, and change management, even if there's a lot of things that are changing. We also have to work a lot on the data cleansing, because you should keep the business with you to show them the value of all the work that we have done since 2 years, and also to prepare to the final delivery of the MDM project. So last year at Vaudoise, we launched a MDM platform, a project, and we implemented a new platform that will contain all the referential master data, the quality rules and the checks about data, and also the stewardship process in order to detect and correct all the wrong or the missing data. So we're working closely with the team of the MDM project. And also at the end, another challenge is to work on the second step of our strategy, which is the value. So now that the basis is very good and the organization is set up, and the process and the tools are okay, we're going to focus more with the business on the creation of value based on all what we have done these last 2 years. Okay,
very well. Thank you, Amine. It is true that Heuer and Vaudoise are two major Swiss companies that have been here for quite a while now, I would say. So it's interesting now to see with Martin if, let's say, younger organizations also share the same priorities.
Similar, absolutely. I would point out maybe two points specifically for us, and one is probably really quite specific for Bob, as we're building up our company, we're building up our business, and also the capabilities inside. One of our challenges is to carry out the data knowledge outside of IT, similar to Benoît's challenge, where we want to make sure that the business is self-servicing and has the capability not only to access the data, but also then really to have the analytics capability where we need it. So on the risk side, on the sales side, as I said before. And we're now building the data infrastructure, so like a data hub structure, if you like, but also then is there a common understanding of the data that everybody can actually consume it in the rules of the data governance rule set. That's the steps that we're currently working on, and it requires people who take on that ownership, not only of the data itself, that's one thing, but the ownership of data analytics and actually provide that capability and build it up internally. That's one element. The second one for us, also probably a bit specific, is our growth model. We onboarded, for example, in April this year, PostFinance as a strategic partner, where Bob Finance provides the installment loan to PostFinance. And that creates a new world for us, and also a new data world, because we then exchange information. We ask the customer about the consent, and we provide basically a product under the label of PostFinance, and that created a lot of data topics, right? I mean, what data do you exchange, and how do you set up then your framework with partners? And we want to continue that path. We want to continue to work with partners outside our organization. And that leads to then new points to regulate. We need to define it. We need to define the process, not only internally, but also with the partner together.
Very well, yes. And it will be also interesting to see what Credit Exchange has to say with Andrea, also as being a younger company. So Andrea, do you share Martin's point of view in this case for the priorities?
Yes, definitely. Maybe in terms of big challenges, we are probably in a more comfortable situation compared to big companies because we are very young. We have been we build our company with that at its core. So we don't have legacy system or missing data or not so much bad data on our infrastructure, simply because we could start from an empty paper. In terms of main challenges, I would more say, because we deal with many banks, it's always a big effort to convince them to share data, especially maybe the smaller ones, which don't have a specific policy or governance framework related to digital collaboration. But for the all other points, I totally agree with Martin.
Perfect, very well. Well, we will now move on to the last question. Thank you, Andrea. We should perhaps start with Amine. So what are the next steps in terms of data governance in Vaudoise the next 5 years?
So first, I would say that the first message I was delivering before won't change, that the data governance is the first a business matter, not an IT one. As I like to explain, is like the IT can't choose the data or the needs of the business. The business knows what he needs. It's like you're going to the restaurant and you have the menu, and then you ask someone next to you, what do I order? And there is only you that can know what you want to eat, not your different colleagues. So the first message won't change. I think that we will have to focus also on the side of the enabler of data valorization. So we're trying to create a new economic advantage for the company. Is it from the process automation, from the new products and new services we can deliver, or the monetization of the data? So we're trying to seek different things on this pattern here, and we will also continue working on the value of the data. So as we say, always it's first a good data, and then we can work on AI and big data, because otherwise we lose a lot of time. You will put too much effort with the bad quality data. You will store it. You will take time for everyone, and you won't be able to do a lot of the data you have. I would say also that we're trying to work on the automation of the online data quality. By online data quality, I mean that all the fronts where people are entering data should have the same data quality rules, and to stop also and prevent the creation of the bad or non-conform data. And also we're trying to make the user experience better. I would say, like with the input help to the auto-completion with different standards and all the drop-down lists. So all this to avoid errors when people are creating and entering data. And finally, also with the business, we're trying to work very closely. We have an idea of implementing a data lab, for example, where we can have a multi-skilled data team with data stewards, data analysts, data engineers, data science engineers. They will work on different proof of concepts, proof of value with a different business team each 3 months or 6 months. And that to create additional value, for example, with new products, new services, or enhance the existing ones.
Very clear. I mean, so very important again, as you mentioned. So working very closely with the business. And so, do you share the same view, Benoît? So, is it important to progressively change from an IT-centric to a more business-focused data governance within the next few years?
Yes, absolutely. It's exactly the same conclusion, I would say, for us. For us, data governance should be 100% animated by business teams. That's our goal. It will be a long journey, but that's definitely our objective at TAG Heuer. And for that, we are also working, like Amine said, on the organization. And our objective is to bring data into what we call a skill center, composed of really mixed teams that are working in the same department all together. That's business team, business analyst team, data engineering, IT teams. So everybody under, let's say, a common organization. That's our goal.
Thank you, Benoît. So perhaps Martin, so I know that Bob Finance is not perhaps as mature or as big as Vaudoise and TAG Heuer, but what would be for a smaller company the next steps in terms of data governance?
Absolutely, yeah. So for us, definitely to create that capability inside the organization and become an even more data-driven company. So to utilize customer data for creating the next best offer, to understand our customers better, because we don't have that much data around our customers at the moment as probably other panel speakers would have in their company. So we don't have the long data history. We want to basically create an incentive for customers to come back, to update their data with us, to give us the very simple things like updating master data, creating use cases for customers to come back, and basically we have the opportunity to do repeat business, but also proactively from our end, being able to offer the best thing to customers, the next product, for example, through our partner network in the buy now, pay later segment, when they have used one product, to give them an opportunity to use another one that's fitting their interest. So these, I would call them as the data analytics and data capability build up phases that we want to embark on. And maybe one a bit further out view that we want to be part of, and actually hopefully also create opportunity for customers, is more the data self-sovereignty space, where in our business we need to collect the data from a customer about the identity, the national ID. We need to collect, let's call it hard fact data. And there are trends and there are opportunities in the market where customers can get back more into control through distributed ledger technologies, for example, where they can agree to give the data that they host to us in an application process, for example. So trends that we hopefully can get along with and actually can also influence is getting the customer a bit more into control of their own data, create a transparency, what data we use, so the customer is clear about the benefits that creates, but also keeps the control, rather than creating data hubs like the big ones we all know, like the Facebooks and Googles and so on, but creating more of a single set of data that the customer can control. And we believe that can create more transparency in the market, specifically in financial services products, where it's obviously all going digital more and more in the next couple of years.
Very well, thank you, Martin. And so, Andrea, for a digital native as credit exchange, what will be the next steps in terms of data governance?
Well, for the upcoming years, we have mainly 2 or 3 major goals. First one is to leverage the already available data even more, to develop even more valuable insights for our partner in terms of efficiency, in terms of pricing, in terms of trading activity. We are still at the beginning of the journey, and already with the current data, we can do much more. Second goal, as I mentioned before, to catch up a little bit the back office area where we simply did not invest so much in the past. And maybe a third important goal is to make a more substantial use of cloud solutions in terms of infrastructure, but also character and image recognition, maybe coupled with AI to analyze and automate processes.
Very well, thank you, Andrea, for sharing that. So unfortunately, we're running out of time. So I'd like to thank you again to all your speakers and to all of you for joining this webinar. I hope you enjoyed it, passing this 1 hour with us. And if you have any questions that we were not able to answer, please feel free to reach us on social media. And we really look forward from hearing from you soon. And I wish you all a great day. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.